Well, the last time I had the pleasure of you were just promoting this wonderful little documentary about Rick James about 2 years ago, I think it
I
was.
know, right?
Tell me what you've been up to since then, and yes, I know the answer.
I have been doing nothing but RapCaviar presents, dude. It's been an amazing project, and just catching our breath now. But it's I think I did a film in between. I did since Rick James. I did You're Watching Video. I did two feature docs for Showtime. You're Watching Video, Music Box, and Rolling Like Thunder, which were both part of the Hip Hop 50 Showtime series. So I have been busy.
You have sort of evolved into this dependable music documentary producer guy. And I say that because it's always quality oriented artists when you're working on them. It's not low budget ones. And by that, I mean, anytime you see it's a Led Zeppelin documentary, you go, okay, so they're not going to have any of Led Zeppelin's music in there and nothing from the band.
Right.
Not your documentaries. You actually get the people.
I mean, that's a part of doing them, right? I mean, I've got two feature docs in development right now, and that's like everything you have to do before you actually get the money committed and you actually start is, are we going to be able to get the artists? Are we going to be able to get the music? Are we going to be able to tell the story? Unless it's like an investigative expose or something where you're trying, you specifically don't want to have the artist involved. But yeah, the kinds of stuff that I've been lucky enough to do recently and have been gravitating towards is working with artists to tell stories that kind of transcend just the usual kind of biopic sort of thing.
So when you started this RapCaviar series with Hulu, did you know that Hulu was going to be the presenting network all along? So they were there from the beginning?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I wasn't the originator of the project at all. I was lucky enough to get hired to kind of oversee day-to-day, show running duties, executive producing. But the project really was a Spotify originated project. Carl Cherry, who's the creative director of RapCaviar, head of urban music at Spotify, Carl, who's an amazing storyteller himself, but who really has been focused on kind of presenting music in streaming, which is different than being a magazine journalist, which is what he did before. I think Carl really had a vision that he wanted to expand the universe of RapCaviar, off of just streaming songs and tell stories. And so he's been experimenting with different modes of that. They have a podcast. They were making short films. The idea of a docuseries really, I think started in like 2018 or 2019, and they went through a whole pilot process with IPC, the production company, Eli Holtzman and Aaron Stedman, who run that production company, amazing storytellers, collaborated with Spotify to make a pilot that then Hulu bought and greenlit, and then I was brought in and put tasked with putting together the creative team who actually made the series that we have today. So, I kind of came in the middle, but was really fortunate enough to have a lot of the runway ahead of myself in terms of like, okay, well, we have this great idea, we have this great brand, we have access to artists. So, what are the stories we're going to tell, and how are we going to tell them?
The reason I asked about the network is these days there can be any combination of things, like show gets canceled and another network or streamer picks up. There could be they greenlit it and then decided not to pick it up, and then another. You never know where the things are going to start and end up and all that. So it's very interesting that a playlist led to a series. Isn't that the first time that that's ever happened?
I mean, we think it is. I asked that question when we started, and then I was in LA last week and talking with a bunch of Spotify folks. We had sort of a premiere event, and I was like, "Is this the first?" And I think that they were all like, "Yeah, this is the first." They'd love to do it with other properties, but hip hop was obviously the most obvious, natural one to start with, just because of the massive audience, both national and global, for the music and the culture. We've all been saying this, but hip hop is not just music. I mean, it's a whole culture, it's a whole world, and it involves fashion, and it involves art and graffiti, and it goes into sports. I mean, so it really is Black culture, and kind of one of the most important ways where all these things kind of come together. So that seemed like that was such a natural, and I think obviously Hulu, recognized that that this is a way to tap into an audience that may or may not, be going to the service to watch, the other kinds of offerings that they have. So that I think was something that they were keenly aware of as we were doing all the pitching and development and making the episodes. Was like, okay, so this is about hip hop, and it's coming. We wanted it to be very organic, to come sort of from the culture. And to that, just want to make sure, that to point out like the kinds of filmmakers that we hired to direct the episodes and the kinds of teams that we assembled. It was really important that we have, people who are representative from the culture, also who had lots of experience with hip hop, who knew the music and knew artists and knew, how to tell these stories, but who are also, kind of artists in and of themselves in terms of documentary storytelling, which is what, I was sort of trying to bring to it. Was like, this is our own art form of being able to tell these stories in a long form. So it's not just like you're great at making music videos or you're great at making, short films about rappers. It's like we need to tell these long, deep, sort of penetrating journalistic stories that are also featuring artists. It wasn't like the other way around. It was like, oh, we have an artist, like let's figure out what to do with them. So so that was all like very, very important to us.
Sort of a self-indulgent topic question over here. The town that I'm dialing in from, Long Beach, Long Island, New York. It's where Rick Rubin grew up, MF Doom, Lil Peep, Def Jam artists like the Beastie Boys, Public Enemy, they film music videos out here. Any idea if there's any buzz about a Long Beach related artist or a Long Beach scene episode happening?
That would be awesome. I mean, yeah, Queens. I mean, coming off the hip hop 50 stuff that I worked on with Showtime, Queens, I worked very closely with Nas, and Sasha Jenkins, who grew up like in Queens, right on the edge of Long Island. Ralph McDaniels, who's the focus of our Video Music Box documentary, lives right near you. I think he's just I forget what town, like just over the border from Queens. So yeah, I mean,
half of hip hop started drop. Half of hip hop is secretly in Valley Stream. Like Shaggy is there, and you go, "What accent is that he lives in Valley Stream?" But hey, Shaggy.
But it's awesome because the projects like. What was great about that project was how New York focused it was, because it was about Video Music Box, which was like a local show. So it was very much like when Chuck Chillout came to do his interview, it was like the Bronx was in the house, and it was like all the Queens people are like, yo, and the Bronx, and he's like, it's all, Bronx. And, for people outside New York, it's like, we're all like New York, or, everyone's like a New York hip hop versus LA hip hop. It's like, no, New York has like all different kinds of regional, styles and accents and stuff like that. So, so this, for RapCaviar is like, we were really, I mean, it was like the whole country, obviously, and how regional hip hop has become. We shied away from doing episodes that were like, let's talk about the Memphis scene. Let's just talk about Atlanta hip hop, because we see kind of other shows that do that. We've seen other documentary series that focus on that. And so we were sort of like regionally agnostic in certain ways. It was like, cool, like this guy's from this place, or these, City Girls are from Miami. They're of Miami. Their music is entirely comes from that style of kind of like booty rap and Miami culture. So we were really excited that was a sub theme, but it wasn't like the main focus. Like, let's find Miami rappers and tell a Miami rap story. It was like, let's find rappers who make sense in the current moment, but who also have this incredible story that is underneath that. So, regionalism though does play a big part in these conversations.
Sure. Well, you mentioned at the top in my last question and topic of concern, 2 new projects that you're working on. Are you allowed to say what either of them are, or do
I can't
follow you on the Instagram, or
no, I can't
for the embargoes to lift? Okay.
I can't, but I'm really excited about them. They're both really cool music topics. So there's just like such sensitivity with the artists and negotiating, and we have unsigned stuff. So but stay tuned.
If one of them is Van Halen, can you blink twice?
I would be so down. But I can honestly say no.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
we know that it is not Van Halen.
It is
but
not Van Halen.
Still, I'm looking forward to the next projects from you. And thank you for the many years of great art and really telling stories that get people to learn new things about things that they've heard tons of time. And it then makes it more interesting. So I know that's a long declaration, but thank you for being you, Steve.
Thank you, Darren. I really appreciate it, and coming back on the show is always fun. Yeah, I would really love for everybody to check out RapCaviar Presents and understand just how collaborative a project it was with so many great talented people from Spotify to IPC. Karam Gill, who was my co-executive producer and directed the first episode on Tyler the Creator. Karam's an amazing filmmaker and brought the look and the feel to the series that I think everyone is really responding to. It's only been out since yesterday, but the Twitter buzz has been really positive, and people inside the culture and I think outside are seem super supportive, but also somewhat surprised. It's like, oh, it's another hip hop doc series, but wait a second, this is really good. This is really interesting, kind of layered storytelling, and we did work really hard to try and make that happen. So I just want to shout out everybody who worked on the show and tell the audience, like, go to Hulu and watch it.
Paltrocast.